Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. Today we're going to be talking about replacement windows and what to look for. We'd like to thank Max DIY, who's been liking and sharing our podcast. Historians think the first glass windows were about 100 AD from the ancient Romans.
Wow.
And it wouldn't be until about 1000 AD when glass was clear enough to see through. So they would have workers blowing molten glass, and they would blow these big bubbles, and then they would take these plates that they had hooked up so they could spin them, and they would lay this glass bubble on this plate, and it would spin flat.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's how they would form it. And then they started taking frames and then laying this bubble inside a frame, and that was the first frame for a window.
You don't have anything about ancient Egypt?
They were actually the first glass makers around 3500 BC, but they didn't think about putting it into windows.
Stupid.
They were using paper over their papyrus over the holes in their homes.
If you're replacing a window, what are some things you need to think about?
So first you have to think about the style. So, if it's single hung, double hung, casement. So with a single hung window, you actually have two windows or two sashes. And with a single hung, the top sash doesn't move. It's on the outside. It's sealed in place, so it's better insulated. And then that bottom inner window is the one that's going to move up and down. If you have a double hung, it looks the same as a single hung, except that both those windows can move up and down for better air circulation.
Right.
So in these newer windows, they tilt in for easy cleaning, and I would say that's a really nice feature. If you're looking at a double hung window, the tops have little clips, and it'll fold down, and you can just get to it very easily. Where, especially on a second floor, it does a nice job. And when you have a double hung, you can lift the bottom and lower the top slightly, and this allows warm air to leave through the top and cool air to be pulled in through the bottom.
That's cool.
So it actually helps with ventilation.
What do you mean by a sash window?
So usually double hung and single hung they consider sash, but sash really just means glass in a frame, so it can be almost any window. And then with a sash, you can have smaller sections of glass. They can be divided by vertical stiles and rails, so you can have multiple small pieces of glass in one frame. And then you can have kind of fake-looking stiles and rails, so you can have muntins, and these are decorative grids. And they can sometimes support the glass, but you have like that framework inside.
Yeah, my parents have this.
Right, so it's kind of a look. You can also get sliding or gliding windows. So these are two windows that slide right and left. Some have one fixed window that doesn't move.
Right.
Some of the window pros like these as an emergency exit, so having one or two of these maybe in the back of your home, just so it's easy to get in and out. And then you have casement windows. So these are windows that are hinged on one side, and the windows open and close outward, usually with a crank.
Right.
And then they can open right or left. And if you're thinking about purchasing a casement, it's important that you're identifying how you want it to open, whether to the right or the left. And then you can buy groups where you have a pair, or you can have three windows, one on the right, one on the left, and then one in the center that doesn't move. It's just a pane of glass. So
It'd be a drag if you bought your windows and they were all facing the wrong way.
Oh! So the casements are usually more efficient than double hung windows because they really close tight against their weather strip. So they do a really nice job of keeping air movement. And they're also more secure against someone trying to break into your home.
Yeah, but as getting wind into your house, like air movement.
Air movement? Yeah, it depends on how.
Suck.
Depends on how they're
I'm not
set
a fan
up.
of the casement windows. I have them at the condo, and in the bedroom, it's like if the wind is blowing at the correct direction, then it's like yay. Otherwise, boo.
And most people will open them completely all the way, and so you have a lot of surface area where air movement can move in. Especially in a home, you're going to have both sides of the home where it's going to move through pretty good. One of the other downsides of a casement window is they can't hold a single air conditioner unit if you have a small home and you just want a window unit. The double hung and the casement are probably the most popular. You can also get an awning style window, and these are hinged at the top and they open outward with a crank. So it's kind of like a casement on its side.
Right.
And these can be opened during the rain, which is nice. And then they can also be used for accent windows with other styles. So I've seen some where you have these large fixed windows, and then they put a row of these underneath it for ventilation and security. And also for good insulation. I've also seen them replaced up high. Like some of the new style homes have like a fixed window for light up high, and then they'll swap that out with one of these awning style for ventilation. You can also get a hopper style. So these are hinged at the bottom, and they open in or out from the top.
That's weird.
And these are popular in basements, especially if you had old existing glass block windows, and then you can throw in one style like this. So now you can get air movement,
right.
and they're really tight and good for security.
What is the point of the glass block windows?
So you're able to get a lot of light into the basement, and they're thick. So you've got airspace in the middle of this, and it's really good security. So it's not easy for somebody to break in through the basement.
Do they still use these?
I've seen them in a lot of, I don't know whether modern homes, but a lot of the homes that are remodeled in Chicago had these.
Interesting. What are the most popular types of window material?
So you have wood clad, vinyl, fiberglass, aluminum. Wood windows are real durable. They're energy efficient. They can be stained or painted to match any decor. So they're very versatile.
Right.
And well-maintained wood windows can last for decades.
But if you leave them untreated, if you just put up windows and you don't stain them or anything?
Right, yeah, they can rot, they can swell, they can warp. So they really...
Like the windows you put in at the house?
Right, yes. And I didn't stain them for a couple of years.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, it was amazing the amount of mold that grew, and then you have to bleach it, you had to get rid of it, and then you had to stain everything, so way to go.
Yeah, it was
made a lot more work for yourself.
It's an interesting learning process. So learn from me. If you get wood windows up, stain them, paint them immediately.
Yeah.
Wood clad is a very nice type of window because the exterior...
What is clad?
So it's covered with either fiberglass, vinyl, or aluminum. So it's going to give you an exterior, very low maintenance finish, and then inside you can paint it or stain it, so you can have any look you want inside.
Oh, interesting.
But with the outside, where it's getting sunlight and weather, it really does a nice job. And so now you're not worried about outside painting and staining.
Right, yeah.
Some pros caution against clad windows in wet climates, though.
Why?
You have to make sure that you have either a waterproof membrane or extra flashing, because moisture can get under that cladding and then rot out the window.
That would suck.
You know what the wettest states are?
No.
Alaska, Hawaii, Washington, and Oregon. You can get vinyl windows, and these are usually made from PVC that are treated to resist sunlight. Over 65% of all windows sold are vinyl.
Huh, I didn't know that.
They're lower cost, very durable, and they don't require painting. And most manufacturers, the color goes right through the material. So if you get a nick or a scratch, it's not going to show up.
Oh, that's
You
cool.
can get it in a wide range of colors. And the frames are generally filled with insulation, so they're lighter than most styles, so they're easier if you're installing windows yourself.
Right.
They're lightweight, they're energy efficient, and then with the large windows, they have reinforcements with aluminum and steel, just to make them strong.
Who knew? Vinyl windows, the way to go.
You have fiberglass windows, and these are very strong. They have frames that are usually filled with insulation. The outside is painted, or they're going to give you like a wood-style finish.
Right.
And then the inside, a lot of them have wood interior. So these are more expensive than vinyl. You can get aluminum. They're very lightweight and strong, but they're not great with their energy efficiency. So these aren't as popular. And then you can get a lot of different composite windows. And so manufacturers are blending aluminum, vinyl, and wood. Some are a vinyl frame, aluminum exterior, and wood interior. And then they have air chambers that separate all the different material, so it's better insulation.
Interesting.
Yeah. What you're looking for in a good replacement window is a double or triple pane window. This has an air space that insulates against heat and cold between the glass. And companies fill that space usually with argon or krypton, so it's more energy efficient. It doesn't transmit the heat and cold as well.
Interesting.
Triple pane or triple glazed windows are now the standard in Sweden and Germany.
Well, duh.
And then in the U.S., usually triple pane, builders will put this in the coldest climates because they are more expensive. And for cold climates, if you're looking at replacement windows, you're looking for a double pane with something called a warm edge spacer. And this maintains the best airspace between the glass, and then that material doesn't transmit the heat or cold like an inexpensive spacer would.
Well, my parents, when they replaced their windows, 20 years ago, it was amazing, the difference, because always in the winter we used to have to cover the windows with the plastic,
right.
The window kits,
right.
And you would see the wind.
Right, the air movement, yeah.
Right, yeah, I mean, crazy. And then they changed out all the windows, and it was night and day.
Yeah. One of the upgrades you can get when purchasing a window is a low E coating. Mm-hmm. So this is low emittance. And this is a microscopically thin metallic coating that they put on the windows, so double pane and triple pane. And this reduces heat transfer, but allows the light to pass through.
Interesting.
So crazy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So some manufacturers, for cool climates, what they do is they put this film facing the inside to keep the heat in. And then in hot climates, that film faces the outside to keep the heat out. Or you can get the coating where it faces each other.
And what does that do?
So for like moderate climates, it's kind of goof-proof. And what's nice about that low E filter is it's blocking ultraviolet light, so you're protecting your carpets, your furniture from fading. The U.S. Department of Energy says that low E windows can reduce energy loss 30 to 50%.
Holy cow.
When you're shopping for your windows, another thing to look for is the NFRC label or the Energy Star label. Mm-hmm. NFRC is the National Fenestration Rating Council.
What the heck is that?
So fenestration means how you arrange your windows. So this is the council on that.
Wow.
On that label, you're going to have the U factor, your solar heat gain coefficient, the visible transmittance, and air leakage.
Are you going to explain what all that means?
So the U factor, this is what measures the ability for heat to be stopped from flowing through a window. So the lower the number, the better.
Okay.
In cold climates, you're looking for a U factor of 0.35 or lower. Mm-hmm. In central climates, you're looking for 0.40 or less. In hot climates, you're looking for 0.75 or less. The solar heat gain coefficient, so this is the window's ability to block solar heat gain. Mm-hmm. So very important in summers in hot climates and windows facing the south in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So this reduces your burden on the AC unit.
Oh,
and
interesting.
The lower the number means it's going to block heat gain. In cool climates, you may want a higher number to take advantage of the heat gain. But in warm climates, you're looking for 0.40 or below. In a moderate climate, 0.55 or below, and then in cool climates, 0.55 or below. And these numbers are from 0 to 1, so it's all going to be in that range.
If you're replacing all the windows in your house, you really need to think about which way your house is facing. And when you're at the store, you should tell them, hey, I'm facing north and south, right, because you should be buying different windows based on the direction, correct?
You can, sure, absolutely. And the National Fenestration Council would love you for picking the right windows and where to place them. So
but I'm sure there's a cost difference with...
Absolutely, yeah, it costs. So whenever you add these features like this solar heat gain, it costs a little bit more, and you want more heat gain in cool climates. You want less in warm climates. So
just your energy savings.
Right.
I mean, it's going to pay off in the long run to pick the correct window.
Sure, and even that low E coating, if you have south-facing windows in the U.S., you've got this light damaging your furniture and your carpet. But why spend that money on the north side where you're getting none of that? So really, buying windows for where they're placed is very smart. On that label, you also have visible transmittance, and this is the amount of visible light that moves through the glass. So this, again, is a number between 0 and 1.
Right.
And the higher the number, the more light that will pass into the room. So you're usually looking for 0.50 or above. Air leakage is another interesting number. So this your parents would have appreciated with their old windows. The lower the number, the less air that's allowed to pass through the window. So it's usually 0.1 to 0.3 for the best windows. You can also get WOCD devices on windows now, and these are window opening control devices that prevents kids from falling out of windows. So you can buy kits if you have older windows and let's say you just had kids. And most of the new windows have built-in, or you can order these WOCD devices in it. And this is going to prevent a window from opening more than 4 inches unless you override the control.
Interesting.
And they base this measurement on the size of an infant's head. There was a study in the Journal of Pediatrics that says about 5,000 children are treated in hospitals every year from falling out of windows.
That's crazy.
Amazing, huh?
Yeah.
A couple of things when you're looking or shopping for windows. If you go to a couple of the big boxes like Lowe's and Home Depot, you can actually pick a window and then click on it. And then there's a tab that's going to say specifications. And when you pull that down, it's going to list whether it's Energy Star, which is your most energy efficient windows. And then a lot of these will show what zone this window is designed for. So either hot, cold, or moderate, which is nice because you're buying something specific for your area. And then it's going to give you the rough opening, height, and width. It's going to give you your warranty. So this really makes a nice starting point while you're shopping for your windows. If you plan on replacing these windows yourself, the replacement window is a complete unit. So you need to know your rough opening of the old window, and you're either going to screw it or strap it into place. When you're ordering your windows, you're going to need to know what type of exterior molding, how it's going to set there, and you need to know the exact inside dimensions.
Well, I got a story.
Okay.
So when my parents replaced their windows, and my dad did all the measurements, and so they have a huge picture window that was in the dining room. He measured, they ordered the windows, custom windows, took 2 weeks to get them in, my uncles are all over, gonna install it. They take out the old window, go to put in the new window, and it's like 2 inches longer than what old one
terrible.
was. And so they had to end up, it was a whole process, cutting into the wall to make it fit. The neighbor across the street who was a contractor came over. He had to help. It was, my mom was freaking out. Because
I'm sure. It's a big hole.
Like, whoops.
So measure twice.
At least.
So for your old double hung windows, you can measure. So if you have an old wood window, let's say that we're upgrading, you want to measure the side jambs. So you're measuring from wood to wood. So as the window moves up and down, what it's sliding against, that's your jamb. And you don't want to measure the inside stop. So there's a piece of wood that runs down the middle that separates the two windows. So you want to measure where the edge of that window is sliding up and down. Measure it from the top, the middle, and the bottom so that you get your width. And then you're going to use that smallest measurement. And then you're going to measure vertically in 3 spots and use the smallest measurement. And for old wood windows, it's very easy just to pull out the old windows. You're going to take off the trim. You're going to move those wood stops in the middle. And now you're just going to set the new window right in there. It's really easy. You also want to make sure that you measure the depth of the jamb or the width of it, because you may need a jamb extension kit. On one of the last houses I bought, they had like 2x6 construction, so all on the lower part of this house they were much wider, thicker walls, and so I had to buy this extension kit so that it had a nice, uniform looking jamb. And then you can use your tape measure body, like we talked about in the tape measure episode, to get a really accurate measurement, because most of the bodies are 3 inch, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, and then just use that and pull out your tape so it goes from the end of the tape to the end of the body of your tape measure. You're going to get a very exact measurement. For windows in brick, you may need to subtract 1/4 inch, which I found out when I was working on a house. So I measured like I normally measure. And then I got the windows, I picked them up, and I had to then rent a grinder to slip these windows in. And so, I went back to where I got them, and they said, well, whenever you put them in brick, you got to subtract 1/4 inch. So there's another nice thing to learn there. So definitely look at the manufacturer's suggestions. Some manufacturers are going to want you to deduct slightly from the height or width. So get your requirements before you order your windows.
So you and my dad should start your own measurement company?
For some newer windows or casement windows like I had, you're going to remove the trim around the windows and measure the opening from stud to stud and for your width, and then from the header to the sill plate for your vertical measurements, because you're going to be removing the whole unit. So if you have really old windows, you're going to leave that existing wood frame there and you're just going to connect to that. In newer windows, you may have to remove the whole thing.
Well, this is why actually going to the store like a Home Center, or if actual window store like Pella Anderson, that the salesperson can actually help you a lot.
Help guide you, so you don't make the mistakes.
Like and they can tell you if you need any kind of kits or straps or whatever.
And how you're going to affix the window.
So instead of just ordering it online and praying that it comes...
Yeah, they're very helpful. They most of these companies do it, which I found out after making a couple of mistakes, that they're very knowledgeable, very helpful.
But next time, it's going to be great. Do you have any tips on installing windows?
Well, if you have really old windows, so the old sash wood windows with the sash weights, so you've got that rope with a weight inside the frame of the window.
Oh, we did that video. I mean, those windows had to be at least 100 years old.
Yeah, it was great.
And when you took that weight out, I was shocked that this was actually in a window.
And how heavy they are.
Yeah.
Amazing, on both sides. So if you have these old windows, you want to cut the rope and remove the lower window. You're going to unscrew or remove this cover. So you have a panel that covers the weight inside the frame, and you're going to pull that out, and you're going to want to fill that void with either fiberglass insulation or expanding foam.
Right.
And then if you're using expanding foam, you want to get something that's very low expanding, or it's going to say for windows or doors, so it doesn't overexpand. And that's kind of key, is getting some insulation in here. And then cut that rope, remove the weight, and then remove those pulleys that hold the weights, and you're going to fill that with insulation also. So that's kind of key with older windows. And then if you do it yourself, just make sure you are insulating around the windows. You want to caulk your trim. You want this to be airtight. You're doing all this work putting in these wonderful windows. You need to make sure that everything around it, you've done a nice job of insulating.
Well, you spent the money to, upgrade your windows, and then you're not going to install it correctly.
Right.
Why is it still so windy over here? What are some top-rated window companies?
So the key is kind of looking for the Energy Star label.
Right.
But some of the top-rated windows are from Pella, Andersen, American Craftsman, Tafco, Tafco.
Whoa, I think that's the first time you spelled in this episode.
Simonton, Simonton, Marvin, American Craftsman is rated very high, and Andersen makes those. And then Jeld-Wen, Jeld-Wen.
Do you have anything else to add?
Replacing windows is a really nice do-it-yourself project, and what's nice is you can do this over a period of years. You don't have to do it all at once. And I would buy for my need rather than energy savings, because it takes a long time to get that money back. But if you have, for comfort, for resale value, just a great project. If you plan on hiring somebody, I would find somebody that's certified with the AWDI, that's the American Window and Door Installers. Or if you're buying specific windows like Pella Windows or Andersen, I would get somebody that's certified or they're manufacturer trained.
Right.
So they know those windows, and they know exactly how to install them and the insulation needed.
That's interesting. I never thought of that before.
They do a nice job. Look for Energy Star, and then you can also get Energy Star windows depending on your part of the country, so north, central, or south, the climate. I would get low E, argon-filled double pane windows, at least really cold climates. You can get a triple pane window, and then look at that NFRC label, and it's going to give you the best windows.
Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast in iTunes or Stitcher.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our new book, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, Book 2, on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.